So bringing that fun edge as well into our content is like really important.
Totally.
Because it's fun to study, and I don't think wine should be oversimplified. That's another thing I maybe wanted to highlight, is that I don't think there's a lot of that kind of like, let's demystify wine, let's simplify wine. I think actually it's really cool that wine can be quite complex, and there's so many things you can study about wine, but it doesn't have to be in a snobbish or a mean way or putting somebody down way at all. It could just be in a fun way and make, be a little bit sarcastic about it, be a little bit jokey about it, and people love. That's the reason why people love things like memes, because it's just sometimes we just need to laugh at ourselves a little bit and you'll feel better.
So true.
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. This is the next generation with me, McKenna Cassidy. For the next episode, I invite you to explore with me what young adults are up to in the Italian wine scene. Let's feast on our discussion of Italian wine and culture. Grab a glass with us. Chin chin.
Hi everyone, I'm McKenna from Next Generation of the Italian Wine Podcast, and I'm joined by Liza and Lucas. So happy to be with you both. Thank you for joining us from @Grinsteads on the Vine on Instagram. This is a huge treat.
Thank you so much, McKenna, and we're so excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, big thank you for having us. Really special, such a treat. We're excited to chat with you today.
Of course. Thank you. This is going to be a great convo. For everyone listening, please go on Instagram and pull up Grinsteads on the Vine. You're going to see this amazing feed of food, wine, travel, and storytelling from Italy to France to all over the world. And you'll see a special new pup called Nebbiolo, who we'll get to chat about later, which I'm so excited about. So let's get into it. This will be a blast. Guys, could you start at the beginning and just tell me a little bit about how you started Grinsteads on the Vine? Where did this journey with food and wine and travel begin? I know you met at uni in 2016 at the age of 19. And so just tell me what that was like and your family backgrounds in wine, and then how you personally got into it.
Love it. Thank you so much for such a kind intro. Where to start? Exactly. So we met, when we were quite young at university. People drink all sorts of different stuff at university. Obviously, we're in England, so drinking age here is 18.
Yes.
So, which might be different for the American listeners. But we actually, I feel like straight away there was this romance that came with wine in, just the start of our relationship, when we started, going on our little dates, started, first seeing each other. It was always kind of like cheese and wine, or like cooking a steak and having like a nice wine with it. We had no idea what it was that we were drinking, knew nothing about wine. Somehow I feel like we kind of knew what tasted better and like what tasted good and what didn't, but why, we had no idea. And we're always quite curious about it, but didn't learn about it at all. And then in terms of like our family backgrounds, my dad was always quite a big fan of actually Italian wine, funnily enough, you'd be pleased to know. And then Lucas, your dad, quite liked a lot of Bordeaux, didn't he?
Yeah, he was more into like Bordeaux, old school styles, but also some South African. And I think as a result, we had this like built-in sense of what tasted good, but we had the sort of experience or why it tasted good, or any experience at all. So that's sort of, I think, where it started. And we were just like surrounded by wine, but didn't know much about it until then we sort of met and started trying more and more.
Yeah, and I think we were quite lucky as well to try some good wines with our families. But again, like, it definitely was not the stuff we were drinking together in uni when we were just, going through our kind of university life. But then afterwards, as we started to travel more together, we sort of essentially grew up together along our whole kind of relationship. We always loved to travel and, meet new people, kind of cultures, new cultures has always been part of our journey together. I think where it really, where I suppose the passion really started was our Italian wedding. So we got married in Florence in 2022, which was a very beautiful wedding. I have to say, I take a lot of credit for planning it, because
Would you be willing to share where in Florence
definitely
your wedding was?
Yeah, so it's called Villa Corsini. You can look it up on Instagram.
Beautiful.
And it's a very, very stunning venue with sort of like stunning frescoes in the dining halls and a beautiful sort of view of the Chianti Hills in the background.
Oh, fabulous.
A sort of wedding outside.
Sounds boring. Sounds not at all.
Indeed. Yeah, and we obviously were completely sort of in love with Italy. I think Italian wine specifically has this kind of soul about it. And you can tell about the honeymoon, I suppose, which is where probably we actually started to nerd out about it.
Yeah, no, we were so lucky. We did our honeymoon in Liguria coast, like Portofino sort of area. Tried lots of different wine around there. Went to Cinque Terre, which they also have some nice little, very small production of wine there. That was really fun. And then we
Yes.
went up to Lake Como. Tried also lots of exciting wines there, and visited lots of different like wine shops in Old Town of Como. They have some wonderful ones. And then
Yeah.
slowly started just learning more and loving it. We had this one night on our honeymoon where we just had like a super basic pizza at a really lovely little Italian family spot.
Sure.
But we ordered the Barolo, not knowing too much about it, and it was our honeymoon, so we thought it was fun. And the waiter was super excited, telling us all about it, and we were just having this like
Oh,
whole pizza with delicious Barolo, and that's really how it all like properly like
that's beautiful.
I'm super interested in it.
I love how your like with the growth of your relationship, so too grew your kind of personal academic passion for wine, and that moment just fully encapsulates both the special occasion of wine, but also the casualness of wine. Like you like pizza, but also honeymoon, Barolo, but also pizza. I just think that is a beautiful juxtaposition about the truth in wine that you clearly have experienced yourselves, which is so cool. Well, I know this whole experience took 3 years to plan because of COVID, so it's just amazing that you got to finally enjoy your wedding and honeymoon and clearly have had just a huge bouncing off point from that in sharing about wine in detail, about the details of the different regions, to the soil, to the climate, and helping young people and people of all ages kind of get exposed in a very natural way on social media. So what was that kind of like from you? I know you both didn't study wine in college. Liza, I think you have a science background. Just tell us about that and kind of how that formed into your Instagram sharing.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. Obviously, that we didn't initially come from wine, but I think where wine sort of was sort of the middle ground, I suppose, for us. I don't know how to word it. Is that we're both quite big romantics, but also we are quite nerdy and academic at the same time. And I think that's kind of where wine is sort of that perfect middle. I actually studied biomedical sciences and pharmacology in Oxford. So I'm a scientist by background. I was stuck in the lab doing a lot of non-romantic work, I would say, sort of growing little stem cells in my Oxford lab and things like that. And yeah, was always quite sort of passionate about the world of kind of life sciences, and I actually studied pharmacology, so I know a lot about what alcohol does to us on a cellular level, which is quite funny that way. So I think from that side, I was interested to know about wine. I suppose there's so many things that you can learn from a chemical perspective, from the geography perspective, and then I think where Lucas brings in his sort of history and geography passion. He is definitely the maps guy for us.
Yeah, you like to draw the maps, Lucas?
Yeah. Whenever we like plan out where we're gonna travel for the next wine regions, I usually like to try like visualize the like towns we're gonna visit, where we're staying, and then the
Okay.
wineries around, and then kind of build out the like travel from there. So I think we've managed to visit lots of different areas as a result of just like I can visualize it much nicer if it's like on a map. So I think the first one we did was Bordeaux. We drew the two
Yeah.
banks of it and did like that. But honestly, we don't have a wine background at all. No formal
Yeah.
hospitality wine background between us. I'm actually a lawyer, so completely different as well. But I think that's been a nice thing that even though we do very different things, wine is like a common passion that we have, so we can enjoy that together.
Exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
I also don't work in wine. So at the moment, yeah, I've obviously scientist by background. At the moment, I work in sort of clinical trial sales, so software. Again, very different. So working with customers, clients, and talking about clinical trial software to them is very different to a romantic world of wine. And I think what we love about wine is that kind of making your day-to-day life a little bit more sort of hedonistic, I suppose, and also just how many different things you can learn. It's there's just a yeah. What's
Yeah, tell me the obvious. Like, what does hedonism mean? What does that hedonistic moment mean to you guys? And like, how does that live itself out in your day to day?
Oh, great question. I think we love exploring and finding new different things, and then as soon as we do, and when we like cook something nice with it, just like a little extra effort, just like trying. And I think the more that we have tried, and the more that we have like learned, then when you really like experience that something new and something exciting, it's like even more on top. And just like the simple things of enjoying nice wine, cooking together with some like music in the background, or especially like hosting friends or anything like that. I think that's like a huge one. And then you can take that when you're traveling and you're trying like local
Yeah.
foods with like people who are like excited and interested about it, and just like we always like thrive off that and learning all about like why people like a certain wine or something like that. It just like
Yeah.
every small aspect of it is I think like builds up to make it that like huge hedonistic experience. Yeah.
Yes, one point I'd love to add to that as well is that I think it's sort of a hobby for us, but it's something that really makes one more mindful in a lot of different aspects of life, and it's quite a sort of a sensory hobby in the sense that it makes you kind of really taste your food, really notice different smells around you and things like that. So when you learn to taste wine, you start to think about different aromas, for example, that are around you that you would have never sort of noticed before. Like there's like a lot of beauty in that. Like when would go for a run
Yeah.
sometimes, I would sort of stop and think, oh my gosh, that smells like jasmine. For example, there must be like a jasmine plant somewhere around here, and that's I only know that through kind of this is the jasmine note that you get in certain white wines and
Yeah.
so on. So it's quite like a beautiful thing, and it really teaches you kind of to be mindful with your food as well, with the different flavors that come. To really taste, the raspberries, to smell a lot of different things, I suppose, that you don't normally
Mm-hmm.
smell. Which again, when one is, a lawyer or a scientist, their brain is much more on the educational, academic
Yeah.
side, that sensory hobby, that's quite beautiful as well. And I think at one point, I remember listening to a podcast, I think with Chances Robinson, where she said that she loves wine because often it sparks conversation, and this conversation is not always about wine. I love that as well, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I agree. It's the best to share it around the table with the people that you love. Makes your life a little bit more bright, I suppose.
Yes. You're describing something wholly natural. To notice aromas and flavors is a completely human thing. And I think my peers can get caught up in like, oh, gee, I can't figure out what fruit this smells like. I mean, like, don't worry about it. Like, do you like how it tastes or not? But then it's wholly natural to be like, is this something I want to consume? Like, this is an aroma I like. Do I know what that is? Oh, I'm curious. I don't know what that is. How can I find out what that is? And both of you who are extremely detail oriented in both of your professions, I think it's a natural segue to learning about wine, and speaking about wine is you're just collecting that data and then sharing it in detail in a way that's approachable. And it's so cool how that's impacted your own hearts, but also those of your followers. So yeah, thanks for saying that. Let's get into maybe the account itself. So talk to me about like your different segments that you do, whether we're blind tasting on the street, the charming streets of London, or we're in a vineyard. You clearly like to portray the travel, but also portray the experience. And Lisa, I know you said when in our preparations, like you constantly have so many ideas. And so how do you kind of bring that all together in your messaging on your channel? And what does that look like? Like, is someone the creative and someone is more analytical, or how does that work as a team?
I think Liza is definitely the more like creative and has like loads of different ideas. We're almost both those like complete like I don't know if geek is the right word, but we like both really want to learn more about it. And so this was really like started as a way that we could do that. And then it grew out of that. Lisa, as I said, she's the creative one. And then I'm like the details, the maps, the history, the like agriculture, the family lineage of some winery that's been in the
Mm.
family for like generations. And then hopefully that kind of comes together and, we can bring the kind of the chemistry background, the academic background. We love like trying to learn and understand why something tastes like the way it does. When we first got into it, we especially Liza, consumed like every single podcast you can get your hands on, every like book about wine you can get your hands on. And I think
which is why we love this podcast.
yeah.
Thank you. I know you've listened to, what are some of your other favorite pods, Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay to say them on this podcast.
I mean, please shout out Wine for Normal People, Elizabeth Schneider. She's an incredible woman in wine. And I honestly, probably most of the knowledge that the nerdiness and all of the wine knowledge that I initially got was from that podcast. So she started it, I want to say in 2009 or something like that, a long time ago, maybe 10.
A while ago.
Don't quote me on this, but she had like 500 plus episodes, and I listened to all of them at 2x speed. And Lucas at one point was like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna have have a seizure because there's a lot of overstimulation going on here."
It all nice.
Yeah, but it's just so fascinating, and I was really engulfed in this. Just again, the world of so much knowledge that one can have about wine, and I think it's really cool to learn about wine as well. People
wine
don't
is,
talk about
wine is to us is like fun. It's something that's fun that we can enjoy. You can get as serious or as deep into it as you want, or it could just be fun and it's like part of a conversation with like friends. That's why we just we try to bring a little bit of like we did
humor.
One sort of blind tasting while I was skiing, which was kind of fun, and like trying to lock into like what you've practiced on how to blind taste while still doing other things is just also a bit of fun, right?
Yeah, no, I was just going to add that Lucas, from the perspective that he brings to Grinsteads on the Vine, is sometimes really his unique perspective of, for example, being, the basketball player and thinking of like some out of the box ideas for content. For example, actually first team captain of the basketball team when we were in uni, which is pretty fun. So he knows a lot about basketball, and his, one of his ideas was sort of bring NBA and basketball, for example, what kind of wines do NBA players drink and that kind of thing. So sort of sports and wine is also a topic of conversation that Lucas is very much more familiar with than
that'll
myself.
Be a great like future project, kind of the crossover of like wine in kind of pop culture, or wine in sports, and wine in like general sort of like common media and that sort of thing. That's like something we're also like really interested in, of how like wine can it's just like part of everyday life for everybody. So it's really interesting.
That would be so nice, because then you get those interested in it for the basketball or for the sports, but then they hear about the wine as well. It doesn't just have to be people coming from the wine side to like take interest and delight in that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
loads of like athletes are super into wine, and they've got all their wine cellars, and they do also like traveling and stuff like that. So if they could like go into the more sort of little niche and interesting family run places, that would also be quite cool, I think.
Yeah, and I think where we want to take the account as well, that the page is kind of how wine can be intertwined with loads of different aspects of life, like wine and sports and wine and basketball from Luke's side. He's into rugby and Formula One and kind of that boy side of things, I suppose. Whereas for me, I've always really liked the kind of style as well, on top of kind of my interest, I suppose, in medical sciences and science in general. I like the aesthetics side of it, and hosting, how to host dinner in the most perfect way, and so on. And I think, like bringing wine into different aspects of life with style, like even like in terms of fashion and style and beauty, is quite interesting. So there's like so many different ways we can take it, and we don't want to per se have like one niche, but almost to have wine be the middle ground of different things we talk about. And we bring different perspectives. I think me from like a very kind of girly background and scientific background as well, with sort of pharmacology and how wine affects us on the molecular level, and all the different flavor compounds and things, and why we love aromas of one thing or the other, or why actually some wines have faulty aromas and things like that from a scientific point of view. And then for you, sort of the lawyer, history and sports, and more of a kind of a guy point of view.
Yeah. Liza, I was thinking next time you do, like, if you do any holiday shopping at like boutique where they serve you, you know, bubbles or champagne while you're shopping, or there's some like sit down selection process like in the boutique, it would be cool to like highlight the wine and explain it while you're also doing the shopping, and then it kind of like goes together. It's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. That's
literally,
that's a great idea. And yeah, I have so many of those. One of the ideas, which maybe we should just, make the video and post it one day. But like, for example, pairing wines with different styles of fashion, more of a like dark academia would be, one wine, or like sort of loud luxury would be your like the Dom Perignons and the whatnot, and then quiet luxury would be the Barolos, and then sort of the cool guy with the glasses and a mustache would be your natural wine kind of guy. It would be kind of funny.
I love that.
So we have like lots of funny random ideas to just bring to life. We just need more hours in the day, honestly.
I know. If wines were people, here's what they would be dressing like or doing or looking like.
Yeah. So bringing that fun edge as well into our content is like really important.
Totally.
Because it's fun to study, and I don't think wine should be oversimplified. That's another thing I maybe wanted to highlight, is that I don't think there's a lot of that kind of like, let's demystify wine, let's simplify wine. I think actually it's really cool that wine can be quite complex, and there's so many things you can study about wine, but it doesn't have to be in a snobbish or a mean way or putting somebody down way at all. It could just be in a fun way and make, be a little bit sarcastic about it, be a little bit jokey about it, and people love it. People love, that's the reason why, people love things like memes, because it's just, sometimes we just need to laugh at ourselves a little bit and you'll feel better.
So true. I think the attempt at demystifying wine has been made, and it didn't really hold. Like, people were still like, but wait, I'm still confused. Like, it's okay that there's detail, there's intimate design, there's it's a highly designed product, highly thought through. So that's so cool. You're making me think of the Burgundy wine parties that they have. Like, there's an account, I can't remember what it's called, but it's just these like throwdown parties with DJs, and they're just in Burgundy, like drinking red and white Burgundy, and everyone's like 29, and everyone's just vibing, and it's like clubby, but then they're just pouring like Burgundy all over everywhere. And
I love it.
It's so great.
I love it. And that just reminds me, there's probably a video of it somewhere, but so that's something random about us. I always would drink wine on any party. I don't really drink any other alcohol, actually. That's one thing I come out and say it. But once,
it's good.
When it's BYOB, I think there was like a big Christmas party. Not Christmas, a New Year's Eve party, and literally we only had Barolo of 2012, and we just brought that, and everybody, you can like, there's
Tragic.
like a video of us, like everybody is like drinking like, I don't know, cocktails, vodkas, just like dancing around, and there's me with my little Barolo, like. But it's,
I love that.
It's just me, and I'm just vibing.
Of course, just a girl trying to enjoy her life. I love.
There's no need to come for me for that. It's
Exactly. Drink what you want, people. I think that's okay. Even if it's 2012 Barolo at the Ranger, I think that's. I personally, like, I would be there with you doing that.
I love that.
Like, I truly would. That would actually increase the value of the moment for me if it was old Barolo at the club. Like, that makes it for me. Okay, I have this thought in my head, and it might make you feel put on the spot, but I think you guys can take it. Is there, in your wine rack or your cellar that's in your house, do you have an Italian bottle of wine that's like a favorite that you could go grab really quick and maybe like share us why it matters to you?
Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Well, there was just this one wine which we just opened, which was the Barolo 2014 that we had that we bought on our honeymoon, and we shared it when we just got our puppy Nebbiolo.
Yeah. Okay. Is that why Nebbiolo is called Nebbiolo? Because
Well, maybe that's a good story.
Maybe why don't we share it? It's a consumed bottle.
perfect. You guys are the best. You're the best.
Okay, so this
Okay.
one.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so this I don't know if you can see it, but this wine is from.
And this is the Nebbiolo.
And there's Nebbiolo.
So this is from the producers Bruno Giacosa, and it's a Barolo from the Falletto vineyard, 2014. Not necessarily the finest vintage, but we bought this actually in Como at this very little, like, it's almost like a greengrocer style shop in Como town on our honeymoon. And the reason we bought this was we had that Barolo when we had, well, I mentioned that evening when we had pizza and Barolo. And the next day was the last day that we were about to leave. So we bought this wine and we thought we'd have it like on a special occasion. And it was during our honeymoon that we decided that one day we were going to get a dog. Originally, we decided it would be called Barolo, but then learned more about wine and we thought that Nebbiolo was like a more appropriate name for like a little cute dog as opposed to Barolo feels a little too like butch, you know. So
I like Nebbiolo because it's kind of like if you know like where that grape
exactly
is, but it's still welcoming me. It's also just cute because of the
so we like shortened it to Nebbi, and we thought also Nebbiolo is like, you know, the grape is because of like the mist in Piemonte and all. There's all these like meanings behind it. So that's why this really is like a special bottle for us, because we bought it at a time when we had like all these plans on our honeymoon that we like. It's almost like this bottle shows how we got into wine more, how we planned to get a dog, and then 3 years later we kept it with the rest of our collection that grew, and now we opened it when we first got him, the first day we had him, and it's like a whole kind of full circle moment. So
that is so full circle. That's beautiful. And it was done, Nebbiolo.
Yeah, and it was just such good vibes because, you know, picture this, because we went on our honeymoon straight after our Florence wedding. So just so full of positive vibes. You know, our full family was there with us in Florence from all over the world. We have a very international family. I can put him down now. And then we went off to our honeymoon all around Italy. So we just felt so much sort of so thankful for good life, and we were so inspired by that Italian, you know, art of living, I suppose, the beautiful wine, the beautiful food, the culture. That we clearly had loads of good Barolo, and really wanted to get a puppy. so it just all kind of came together on, I feel like, a night which was just full of good vibes, you know.
Yeah, it's such a natural continuation of your passions, your lives, your families, like getting to experience that, and then in building your relationship together in your new phase of life. It just all seems so natural, which I think is really cool. So we already touched on our question about how Nebbiolo fits into this, that he is a continuation of this story around a special bottle of Barolo. So what is your goal with your Instagram channel? Like, what are your hopes for the future? What are your hopes as a couple with your own travel adventures? Like, what could people maybe look forward to seeing more of or experiencing through your eyes?
You know, we're excited to do the bigger trips with like more sort of wineries that we think have like not been kind of as well traveled as maybe other people have. You know, as we started doing more and more traveling, we like visited more and more different places and more different like restaurants and villages and towns. And then now that we kind of seen and experienced what we could like finding like little spots which are like that nobody like really knows about is like very special, more local things special. And kind of if we can, like, now that we're more confident in traveling to different places, for example somewhere like Tuscany in Italy, being able to like go off the beaten track a little bit and kind of showing that would be like a really fun thing to plan. If we could take the little puppy Nebbiolo along with us, that would also be fun. We have this grand plan to teach him how to identify different wines, but you'll have to stay tuned to see if we manage that.
I can't wait for that. Yeah, I'm seeing like, I mean, even if you went to like Le Marche, which rarely do people visit, or deeper corners of Umbria that aren't on social media as often, like could continue the Italian wine journey, but just in a new way. And I thought it was cool. We were kind of chatting before. Many wineries are looking to social media to try to tell a story. And I think you had mentioned, like, tell your story. Don't contrive something. And I think this is a temptation that maybe many people experience of like, okay, well, how do I hit it off with my followers, or how do I say something compelling? I mean, I think your channel and your story has been successful for part of the reason is you've been wholly authentic the whole time, and you've just been doing what you like to do and sharing what you find interesting, and that's clearly struck a positive chord. And so for wineries who are seeking to connect with a new following, I think you've given a good example of telling the story that you have, the one that you know best about your own place or your own experiences, and that actually ends up being perhaps the most impactful to the listeners.
Completely agree there.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that point. It's like in this world where everyone can have everything and see everything, it sort of becomes more and more important to just like tell what you have and what you can tell, and try say like an interesting authentic story which people will somehow resonate more. We've almost like gone back to we want like simple, we want family, we want like organic, or we want
Yeah.
like this is something that is like special that no one else has seen before. That's like a big kind of, seems to be, at least from our perspective, like there's quite a big push and
Totally.
due to that, which is very interesting, and means that there's always like more to explore, which is fun.
And I think also, obviously, we want to share a lot of our recommendations, which we have loads of great recommendations, and we want for it to come across not so much approachable, but I mean, I suppose the word is approachable, isn't it? That it's not difficult per se to go and visit the winery, to talk to the winemaker. They're actually people that really want for you to speak to, for people that love wine, that don't know anything about wine, but they like wine. We also want to make it a fun experience, and that it's, if you like wine, go and talk to the person in the wine shop. Go and visit that winery. Go and chat to people. They're like, we're all people. We all love connecting and talking about the things that we love to do. And yeah, the winemaker would be so interested to tell you their story, and so on. I think that's something we are trying to kind of portray as well with our channel, that it's all about connection.
Yeah, you really kind of open the door for people and set an example of chatting with the principals at the winery. I think the only mistake one can make is by not asking the questions that you have and acting like you have wisdom that you think you should have that maybe you don't. That would be the only mistake, but rather a great way to enjoy the experience is to ask some questions and in humility, explore something new and ask to speak to the gentleman who made the wine or the female who made the wine and learn something. I think you found that an extremely gratifying pattern that you continue to show. So that's so cool to hear.
I think wine is storytelling. It's all about storytelling, and the way probably to now, obviously, with sort of alcohol consumption going down and things like that, the way to really focus kind of on, being, I suppose, successful for wineries is to really tell their authentic story and to portray the product as this product of agriculture, the product of a lot of hard work as well, and thought of, art as well, I suppose, and different ways of winemaking. Some people like to do minimal intervention. Some people kind of have
Right.
almost kind of have different beliefs, and really telling your own story and
Philosophies.
why. I suppose if you tell the story of why you decided to do one thing and the other with a certain wine to the consumer, I think they would actually understand it a lot more versus.
Yeah, they resonate with that loads. I think we've been lucky enough that when we've traveled, we've sort of stumbled upon speaking to all these incredible and interesting winemakers just by coincidence. And sometimes when you can just listen to them describe, how the, like, I don't know, morning light hits their vineyard in a certain way, and why they chose that plot of land was why they wanted to do this wine. I find in Italy they're more willing to speak about that sort of thing, more open.
Yeah.
They can just it's so like magical, and they are just like artists, and being able to just like tap into that or be like learn about that and speak to
Yeah.
that is very like fulfilling, and I think can be something for not only people who are like super into wine, but just somebody who wants to
Mm-hmm.
like understand the land where they travel to or the culture where they go. It's it can often like these types of winemakers, the smaller ones, the more family ones, even the bigger ones who are like trying to stay true to the regions that they're from. They
Yeah.
are so intertwined with like the food, the culture, the people, and people who travel there. You can get so much more out of traveling to do that than anything else.
Yeah.
So it does resonate.
Yeah, well said. Tell me about the 2014 Carmenere from 67 Pall Mall that you enjoyed of late from San Leonardo, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into our rapid fire questions, but I really want to hear about this first to illustrate that point.
Yeah, so that's one of the wines we're trying to explore more. If regions like slightly more unknown regions, that's one of them. San Leonardo is a producer that we didn't know a huge amount about, and we were offered a glass of their 2014 Carmenere at 6 Pall Mall, which was so interesting because I think we went into it blind at first, right? I think we were
Oh,
offered.
they didn't tell you what it was?
They didn't tell us what it was, and
That's awesome.
so interesting with it was like lots of like pine notes and sort of cool climate, but you would think it was from a grape
Yeah.
that was like somewhere like Bordeaux or like Chile or South America or something like that. So it was really like it really threw us off, but it was a really beautiful wine, and subsequently we've learned all about the producer, and it's apparently they thought it was Merlot grape at the start, and then they realized they'd actually planted Carmenere, and now it's like a big thing that they do. And it was anything else to add? It was like really
That's fascinating. That's where Giacomo Takis worked as well, I think.
Yeah. So really cool producer. Again, we sort of only I feel like recently we actually studied that they're quite big, obviously in the area of Dolomites.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I was for a second panicked there.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so really big sort of famous family producer, San Leonardo from the Dolomites. They sort of specialize in Bordeaux blends, essentially, from the northern Italy, so quite different. Giacomo Takis, who is the famous wine consultant that helped create the super Tuscan wines like Tignanello and so on. He actually also worked there to help them with their, I suppose, super Dolomiti or something like that. You can call them those wines. And apparently they had loads of Carmenere vines that they found, but they all thought it was Merlot, and they actually marketed it as Merlot at first until they've done like a DNA study.
So funny. It's so funny. Like, oh, this looks like Merlot. Sure, it must be Merlot.
Very Italian.
Oh no, it definitely is Merlot. Yeah, for sure.
It's so funny.
Obviously. No, that's great.
I think, funnily enough, it happened at the same time as in Chile. But their wines are fantastic, I have to say, and they're really, I think, a little bit maybe underrated because they for quite a sort of a full-bodied, rich experience of a wine. That Carmenere was very beautiful. From 2016, it was 14. 14, quite like ethereal with very cedary, autumnal, but also beautiful, like dried black fruit. Just really lovely wine, and so fresh and sort of full of sort of almost like pine notes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's really cool that they offer quite a rich experience for about 12.5% alcohol, which is really low alcohol for Bordeaux kind of blends. That at the moment, with global warming and things like that, we never see such a low alcohol percentage on wines. And if they compete with wines like in Tuscany, obviously we love Tuscan wines, but they're at least 14%, and in Bordeaux 14.5%. Whereas those ones were so interesting because they offer that like nice freshness almost, but still that nice sort of Bordeaux-esque experience. So yeah, really cool. Recommend if you have never tried wines from San Leonardo. It's a little they get a little.
Yeah, we'll have to.
From us.
Wonderful.
And
Cheers, that's awesome.
Carmenere
Yes.
from northern Italy, like random but so good.
So good. Okay, let's do our rapid fire questions and then we'll bring it all together.
Okay.
So red, white, rosé, or orange wine?
Red, definitely red.
Red, yeah, red.
Would you rather aperitivo or long lunch?
I'm gonna say apericena, which is a new term.
Nice.
Which is a new term we've learned, which is basically aperitivo turned into dinner, essentially, and having, all the favorite food that is probably all of our favorite foods that we have for aperitivo, but you just have it as your main meal with some wine.
It just flows together. It's perfect. Okay, what is Nebbiolo's favorite wine region? The dog, rather than the grape.
It's going to have to be Piemonte. He loves running through leaves, and that is like exactly those autumnal fall vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's he knows where he's from.
That's adorable. That's wonderful. Okay, what's the most underrated wine region in Italy?
I think probably one we haven't discovered yet, to be honest. I'm sure there's so many.
Nice.
There. I maybe want to shout out Franciacorta. It's quite well known already, but would love to return there because they make obviously traditional method sparkling wine. It's a champagne method. It makes some beautiful, beautiful sparkling wines, but also it's so stunning where it's located with, near Lake Garda and Lake Iseo. And I would love to actually return there and spend much more time there. We were there for like only a couple of days, and if we knew how I feel like beautiful it was and such good wine.
This is quick fire, not very quick fire, but there's one
Sorry.
other place which is
That's good.
which is I think that we've tried only a couple from Friuli, Venezia Giulia, and they were like super interesting. So I don't think many people would know where that is even or what wine from there. So I think that's also an underrated one.
There's a lot of fun revivals of sort of grapes that were extinct. For example, I think there was Schioppettino we've tried once when we went to Venice from Friuli, Venezia Giulia, and it's always so fun to try something which could have not been there, but it was
That was well put. Okay, what's a wine you've bought multiple times that you always like keep returning to?
Chianti Classico. It's just I think
like standard like the basic Chianti is
always satisfying.
Yeah, like good quality, good value.
Yes. Well, okay, guys, I have kept you long enough today, but this has been such a blast. Is there anything you would like to share with the listeners before we part?
I think just stay curious, I suppose, about if you like wine, don't be afraid to explore, don't be afraid to nerd out, and it can be a beautiful thing to get a little nerdy and study up why you prefer this wine or the next wine.
Yeah.
I think maybe one of the great tips we can offer is, if you want to just learn a little bit about wine, start taking photos of the wines you like. And, next time you go into a wine shop, just show this photo to the wine person and talk to them why you might have liked it. And you can actually just start a conversation. They might not even have that exact wine producer or wine, but they can tell you why you might like it. So maybe you like full-bodied styles or the opposite and so on. Yeah. And they can, recommend you things that are often much, much better budget-wise, or you can just learn something and try something which is outside of your, I suppose, the staple as well. So fun to branch out as well.
My final thought would be sort of similar, but is just start taking some notes about which wines that you tried. Just a little like with the region, the year, the grape, a couple of like thoughts, and then that'll, as you consistently do that, you can start building a little like little catalog of wines that you've tried, and then that'll help you learn like what you like, where you like to go with it, and what that all means. So that would be our final thought.
And travel to wine regions because it's awesome.
Yeah, tasting wine from where it's where it's made is always
with the food that it comes.
Yeah, if you're able to do that, that is one of the most satisfying things, definitely.
Well, cheers to that. Okay, I can't thank you both enough for sharing of your thoughts, your time, your inspirations today. It was an absolute joy to learn from you, and I know that the listeners will benefit and delight in our stories that we shared today. So just cheers to what's now your Saturday night, and thank you so much for all of your inspirations and sharing it. It was awesome. Cheers.
Cheers, McKenna.
Thank you so much,
so
McKenna.
much.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah, lovely to chat with you.
Tante grazie. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Remember to catch our episodes weekly on the Italian Wine Podcast, available everywhere you get your pods. Salute.